Meanwhile, speaking about being way behind the curve, here is Christie, who I believe is still running for president. And in fact, maybe on the big boys stage, because I think the cutoff is somewhere around like 1.8% in the polls. And so he will get on stage. And here he is echoing what James Comey, the head of the FBI, said in statements on Friday. Here is Christie from Face the Nation reiterating this notion that the Black Lives Matter movement is somehow responsible for a rise in violent crime this year.
Let me ask you, as governor of New Jersey, you deal with police and crime issues. FBI Director James Comey said something interesting. He suggested that police across the country may be more reluctant to crack down on crime because of what's the so-called Ferguson effect, named after the Michael Brown murder in Ferguson, Missouri. Do you see any of that in New Jersey, that reticence, because it's now become such a politicized issue?
I don't see it in New Jersey because the leader of New Jersey tells the police officers to go out and do their job without exception.
And they're doing it.
And they are. And you've seen it in a city like Camden, where in the last 3 years after we replaced the police department there, John, and backed them up completely, all the political folks, murder rate is down 61% in the last 3 years in Camden. Yet you see murders up 19% in Chicago and up 11% in New York, and the murder of a police officer. The problem is this: there's lawlessness in this country. The president encourages this lawlessness. He encourages it.
Encourages it how?
Well, by his own rhetoric. He does not support the police. He doesn't back up the police. He justifies Black Lives Matter. I mean,
but Black Lives Matter shouldn't be justified at all?
Listen, I don't believe that movement should be justified when they're calling for the murder of police officers, no.
But they're not calling for the murder of police officers.
Sure they are. They've been chanting in the streets for the murder of police officers.
Well, individuals have, but the Black Lives Matter is about...
But listen, John, that's what the movement is creating. And the President of the United States is justifying that. But not only that, he hasn't backed up police officers from the minute he's gotten into office. And we could cite instance after instance. And there's a lawlessness about no sanctuary cities. We should not have sanctuary cities in this country. The president countenances that. That type of lawlessness sets a tone. And then when you have liberal mayors like Bill de Blasio in New York, who are basically tying one hand behind the back of police officers.
Okay, we don't need to hear any more. So here he is making the completely outrageous charge that there are Black Lives Matters protests that call for the killing of police officers. And, well, the bottom line is he answered it right up front when he had to ask if it is Black Lives Matter that's causing an increase in violence, why isn't it happening in New Jersey? Oh, because I tell the police they have to do their job. So the issue is whether or not the police are doing their job when it comes to violent crime, not a function of there are protests around the country because black people are being killed at a higher rate by police officers and for very little reason. And just to check in on FBI Chief Comey, in paragraph 2, after Comey claimed that Black Lives Matter was responsible for the increase in violent crimes in the country, quote, he acknowledged that there is so far no data to back up his assertion, and that it may be just one of the factors that are contributing to the rise in crime. It also may be not one of the factors increasing crime. And one might imagine that a guy who works at the FBI, in fact, the guy who's the head of the FBI, whose primary function is, if there is one primary function of the managerial class of the FBI, it would be to get data to follow these trends. So when he says, I'm going to acknowledge there's so far no data to back up what I'm saying, what he should be saying is, I'm talking out of my ass to make a political point. And now I will recuse myself as the head of the FBI because what I'm supposed to be doing is supposed to be based in fact. In fact, I mean, that's like, I'm just going to go arrest a guy because I get the sense he could be committing a crime someday. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. No surprise that Christie is the biggest surprise that Christie said that on Meet the Press was, why is Christie on Meet the Press? Why is Christie on Meet the Press?
It was Face the Nation.
Why is he on Face the Nation? Why is he in the news at all? Has the whole world been turned into New Jersey Channel 10? I mean, why are we watching this guy? He's of no national relevance anymore.